All right, this is Larry with DFW Lane Clearing. This is Austin. We got Dalton on camera, family-owned lane clearing business.
We're out of Maybank, Texas.
Maybank, Texas. We're here in Canton, Texas right now at my property. You'll see in the background there's trees and all kinds of stuff from a storm. We don't have time to clear because we're too busy working on everybody else's property. You know, same scenario. You're a painter, your house ain't painted. If you're a mechanic, your car's broke down. So this one we're going to go over. We went over the 333G. Look for that video. This is the Yanmar TL100VS.
And this is a 2024 model.
And it's a Loftness Battle Axe Mulcher. So out of the three, we're doing the FAE, the MH60D, and this is probably the least powerful, I would think, wouldn't you, Austin?
Yeah. I don't know if I would rank it last. As far as overall, the MH60D and the Loftness kind of pretty comparable, but they have their strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
The MH60D is stronger than this is, but this one back drags 1,000 times better.
Yeah,
and
the
that's
back drag is way better.
That's something we really pride ourselves on as a company, is making sure that the property looks extremely clean and extremely nice once we're through with the job. So back dragging is a big thing for us. So that's where this really shines, is the back dragging aspect of it.
And it doesn't have a door on it, but this one doesn't really shoot stuff way out. Like if the FAE door's open, it shoots it, which I like that. It shoots it way out. You can close it and control it. You can control it a little bit with the MH60D, but this one has no door, but it really don't. You can kind of creep up to a fence line and really not worry too much about chunking a bunch of stuff off in the road.
Yeah.
As far as this bar, we don't like this.
No.
Don't like the squareness of here. If we're on a fence line or something and we're trying to hook a tree to pull it around and cut it down, it's harder to get it than if it was like a straight piece. It is better than the MH60D because it's longer and there's more room that you can grab that tree and swing it over.
There's no curve to it where the tree can slip off. It's just a straight 90-degree angle, and it's nice and long. And I will say that we could, and what we were probably going to do to be able to get this angle better and more up, is this is just, looks, from what we can tell, is just 2-inch by 2-inch tubing. It's about 1/4 inch thick. Just cut some new ones, make them longer, and make that up higher.
We got to get it up higher, because if you look up here, you can see we've already knocked the horn out of it. We've busted both lights and crinkled this overhead piece here, because if you tilt this all the way back, it hits it bad. I mean, it goes all the way up to the glass. I think that's, if you're going to sell these things together, they need to be, you know, this needs to be out further for this machine. It may be different on other machines, but I don't think it should tilt that far back. We bought this, we've bought 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of equipment from PR Equipment out of Kerens, Texas, Kerens, Texas. They also have a location in Canton, Texas. These guys are great, you know, service, you know, if we had a problem, like even this one, we didn't want it to turn the flow up, but we didn't like the way it was working. They drove out to our location and was looking things over, helping us with anything we needed. So those guys are great over there. So if you need something, you're around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, even if you're a little bit further, it's probably worth the drive.
Anybody specific over there that they should talk to if they're looking?
There's Lucas that does the sales. You know, I'm not good with names, so yeah, hold me to it. But the owner is always around usually. He's the one that came out and helped us. So those are good guys over there. Give them a plug. You know, they're selling a bunch of Yanmar stuff. We're going to do our Yanmar excavator, and then we did buy our ASV from somebody else because they didn't have one in stock, but we've got one ordered through them. So with the Loftness head, other than that, I mean, it's a good head. You know, we run some knives on it when we first got it. We switched to carbides because, you know, there's too many different conditions we're in all the time. We don't want to be spending all of our time sharpening and changing, you know, knives. So
from my aspect, I do all the maintenance. I do all the prep work in the mornings for when we go to use these machines, as far as greasing them, everything. The grease points are on the sides here on pretty much every machine. They're generally the same location. MH60D, they're on top, so it just gets filled with gunk and trash.
Yeah, I don't like that. You got to clean it out with a screwdriver or something. It's a pain in the butt. I don't like that.
These, they do have a guard on them. They're a little bit wider, and they're a lot easier to access in my opinion. The one thing that I don't like about this is if you watched a review on the John Deere, it has an easy open door to access what's inside. And that's important because we have to grease the motor that's in there. This one, you have to unbolt in order to get it open. So that, I do like that better about the John Deere. It's got an easy access door, same thing with the FAE head. So I do like that a little bit better, but as far as an overall, I would have to say that they've got their strengths and weaknesses, but are on pretty much the same playing field, in my opinion, as the John Deere MH60D and the Loftness.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it on the head. You know, it's not the greatest, it's not the worst. I mean, it gets the job done. So we're gonna go to the machine on this side. One of our biggest complaints. There's a wire. They've probably got it put up. We zip tied it up here in the back. This is for the auto leveling bucket or something, I don't know. But this goes and runs down the arm, comes down and connects here to the front plate. If you're doing mulching, if you buy one of these machines to do mulching, unbolt that, cut all the zip ties, roll it up here in the back, because you're gonna tear it off.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
What happens when you tear it off?
The machine don't go nowhere. No. That's the machine goes. That's the other one.
Yeah.
It won't raise up and down.
Yeah.
So it'll work. You'll tear it off and it'll be running. But once you shut it off and turn it back on, it will not move. The head, the up and down or the tilt, nothing will work. So we broke it. We fixed it because it's just wiring. We broke it. We fixed it. We enclosed it in electrical flexible conduit. We broke it again. There's no way to keep from tearing that off doing mulching. So if you're going to use this machine for that, take the time, unbolt it, save your pieces, put it back there. When you're done, connect it back. This machine here, we also had, if you can see up here, all the hydraulic lines on the front plate are exposed. So just like the John Deere, those were loose. Now, I don't know if they're loose or, you know, stick hits it just the right way and catches it and causes it to get loose. But the same problem we had with the John Deere, we had with this one where those got loose. This is, you think it's better? The John Deere has a pin that comes through. We done broke it because you forget it's out.
So that's inside.
Out there.
Yeah, it's inside the cab behind your head. You raise the arms up, you turn the pin, it pushes a pin out. Only problem with that is if you forget that you've done that in the middle of a working day and you're trying to get everything ready, let's say it overheated on you, you're trying to clean everything out, you've got the arms up. If you forget, it's strong enough to bend that pin. And once that pin's bent, it's extremely difficult to get that pin back in. So in my personal opinion, this is a much better option. There is no forgetting it. It's a nice big thick piece of tubing basically, and it goes up and encloses or encases the shock. So you go all the way up with it, encases the shock, you put the pin in so it holds it in, and then you release the hydraulics to let it come back down on top of it. Pretty hard to forget.
We like about this is the fuel on the side. I like that. This is kind of a, you know, the door's kind of weird, you know, but it's better than having it in the back. We don't like how all these lines are exposed, and even here in the front, there's no guard. But as you do this, you learn to be careful. So we haven't broke any of that without no guard at all. We were gonna build our own to put on there.
But you know, once you've done it enough, you get a stick in here and you can see where it's positioned, shut the machine off, get out, take the stick off.
Or you know which way to back out, which way to move to get that stick where it don't just rip something apart.
34-gallon fuel.
34-gallon fuel tank.
You can
John
almost
Deere's 32, and you can
30.
Or 30, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 30.
And this one you can go about 7 hours mulching. That's full throttle mulching all day. You can get about 7 hours out of it, and it uses what, maybe half a tank of DEF per. All right, our camera overheated again. It's 100 degrees here in Texas. So back on the Yanmar TL100VS. We don't like these lines up here. They're exposed, but we've never tore or broke any of these. Visibility is way better. We also like the window better. The John Deere, we went to close the window one day and it shattered, just from trying to close it. So
that was a hot second half of the day there.
this is not the bulletproof glass like is on the ASV, but we've never had an issue.
As far as visibility is concerned, I mean, you just barely lift these arms up off the ground and you can see all the way down to the front of your tracks. Right. It's just amazing. The John Deere, you can't see anything past, because I mean it blocks it off about this height, so you can't see any of the tracks or anything just by looking down. And you sit
up in the seat more instead of like the John Deere is like you're sitting in a recliner almost, but it's really not. No, it's not more comfortable. It's hard to get out of, especially when you get out of it. You want to park it facing towards the front. If you park it facing towards the back, it's like, if you're good at sit-ups, you probably don't have no problem. But if you're fat like me, it's hard to get out. We do like the track. See if there's a lot of room here for stuff to go through. It's got some kind of torsion suspension here, so it has suspension. It's a lot more comfortable ride. You take off across the field with this thing and it's not going to beat you to death.
There is, with that, there is 2 grease points on this bar here where the suspension comes in, and there's a grease point over there. Something that John Deere doesn't have, but again, I'd rather take this a little extra maintenance for the way amount more comfort that it provides.
A lot easier to keep clean. And you can see here, there's a lot more room for stuff to pass through. The machine sits higher. It's got more ground clearance. Now, there's lines that come out the side here, down here on the bottom. Whole bunch of lines, ASV same way. But this one has an electrical line. We found this out because we broke it. So electrical line goes right to the top of this motor here. And we had a stick getting there to hit it. You shut the machine off, it ain't gonna go nowhere. The tracks are locked down. There's no way to move it until you fix that. So when that happened, we were in the middle of the woods. It was no good. We had to get a compressor, generator, because we had an electric compressor. Luckily, we were able to blow that fitting out. So what we think happened, a stick knocked it off. It continued to run until you shut the machine off, and then it locked down when you tried to start it and go somewhere. So I got a bunch of trash. The fitting sits facing up. It's electrical fitting. Got a bunch of trash in there, broke a little piece on the side there. So we had to take an air blower and blow it down in there, blow all that out, and then we were able to plug it back in. So,
because your options were fix it on the property or get a big piece of machinery and try to drag it all the way out of the woods.
And try to get to that thing to fix in the woods, that would have just sucked. But the dealer, they took care of it. That is the biggest thing. We found those things. So you gotta be careful. Don't be running over a bunch of stuff, big sticks and stuff like that. I see videos where guys are just plowing through stuff. We've done that, everybody who's done this probably has, where you're just plowing through the woods and running over everything in sight. The ASV, it's a tank, but there's a hydraulic line. I seen a video where somebody busted one. So
same thing along those same lines in that same general area. We were running the machine one day, stick got in there, little bitty stick, hit just right, loosened a hydraulic hose, and poured all the hydraulic fluid out of the machine. So we had to go in the middle of the job to go get hydraulic fluid in order to fill it back up and tighten that hose. And it's pretty
and we don't know if
difficult
a stick hit it, loosened it, same thing with the front, or if it just wasn't tightened right when they built it.
Right. So one thing I will say, I clean these machines. So we have a couple days out of the month where we try to deep clean the machine to keep everything nice and cool and everything like that. This right here is not a good design for mulching. Dirt work, I'm sure it's just fine, but when you're mulching, there's a big hole right here where this cylinder is able to move around in, and it just fills this whole compartment in with trash, mud, sticks, leaves. So that is one thing that I don't like as far as cleaning the Yanmar itself. The John Deere is not much better, really, in all actuality. It's got a design in the arm here, and it just packs full of trash as well. So the ASV is definitely by far best designed for that aspect
now,
of it.
As far as price point, you know, the John Deere and the ASV are right around 175 roughly. This one is around 140 roughly. Yeah. So there's a huge price savings. If you're doing a little bit of mulching, you know, and you know, mainly dirt work or whatever, this is a good machine. You know, it's comfortable.
I would take this over the John Deere.
Yeah, over the John
every
Deere
day.
any day of the week. You know, but as far as mulching, for us to be honest with you, this and the John Deere are not mulching machines. Okay.
Maybe somewhere where it's cooler weather, you're not hitting 90 degrees every day in the summer, it might be okay. But as far as here in Texas, where it gets up 90 to 100 degrees, they just can't hang. They cannot handle the heat.
Yeah, I mean, the John Deere, during the winter, it didn't overheat, you know. We ran it pretty hard, but, you know, still, we still fall back to these aren't mulching machines. If you're doing it every now and then, it's mainly used for something else, that's fine. But if you mulch every day, all day, 8 hours a day, save your money by buying the ASV. You know, you're going to spend more than this one, but the same as the John Deere. So it just doesn't make any sense.
If you're in a hot climate, one thing I would suggest is getting the windows tinted.
Yes.
ASV and the Yanmar, that's something that we're looking to do pretty quickly, because once it gets hot, you're like under a magnifying glass. It just is, there's so much glass, it's just cooking you.
Same thing with our Yanmar excavator. We just ain't had the time. We stay real busy. And then you know how it is, when you ain't working, the last thing you want to do is work on these things. This is super important here.
Yeah.
We haven't got to work yet. The dealer, we had the dealer the other day, they said it works. There's a button here to release the pressure. It worked fine for us on low flow, but the high flow, we had to break the lines loose to plug it in.
This one line right here, anytime you operate the machine for an extended amount of time and try to plug this mulching head back into this pressure line, doesn't matter what you do, what we've seen to do, you try to plug it in, it won't go in. It's got pressure on the line from the machine itself.
And the dealer told us this last time to have the key on, hold the button while you're plugging it in. We haven't tried that yet, but we tried everything else, and it never worked for us. We had to crack the line, and then it wound up blowing the rubber O-ring out, and we had to replace that. So that was a super pain. We're hoping that what they said actually works, and we're going to try it.
Again, low flow, never had any issues. That relieves the pressure off of it. You can plug stuff on and off, no issues. The high flow is where the problem persists at.
All right, open this thing up, it opens up a lot, okay? So you got these. When you open these doors, don't just let them sling open. Let them easy until they open, because if not, and this will lock back, don't grab this and just squeeze, pull on it. You gotta lift that and close it. These hinges are just, really, they're barely welded on there. So when you open these, let them have a hold of them the whole time. You have to open both sides before you open the back. And in the back, there's a little thing here. You basically have to push on the back and pull that up at the same time. And you have pretty good access. The air filter gets clogged up super fast. We don't know why. It's even worse than the John Deere.
The inlet's right here. So, I mean, really, it's pulling any air from this and going inside there. Any trash, any leaves, debris, anything that gets in that engine bay is most likely getting sucked right into that air filter. And if you watched our review video on the John Deere 330G and why I like the DEF system, here's a perfect example. If you look at that DEF, where you fill it up, it's almost to my chest, because I'm a pretty short guy. So whenever I have to fill this up while we're on property for any reason, I've got to hold this tank up this high and hold it the whole time while filling it up. So that's a little bit of an inconvenience for me as well.
Gathers a lot of trash in here. Not too bad, I mean, but it does gather it. So you got to drop the plates and clean that out. The air filter's easy to get to, so you can open it up and all comes out pretty easy. The DEF, there's no lock on this. We'll get to the ASV. They got a lock on it. I don't know why they got a lock on a DEF tank. That makes 0 sense. But when you got to blow them out, this doesn't have a reverse fan, right?
No.
If it does, we don't know about it.
Right.
That's something we've been meaning to check on, but like I said, we work 6 days a week, 8 hours in the machine.
I've looked through all the whole screen menu, every menu that is on that screen to try to find a reverse fan, and if there's, you know, different intervals, because on the John Deere you can change the intervals for when the reverse fan comes on, and I have not been able to find anything about a reverse fan on this machine, which I think personally, if you're gonna have a machine that's this expensive, this much horsepower, you should have a reverse fan. It should just come like that from the factory.
So when you open this thing up and you're trying to clean it out, and if it's running, it's fixing to blow stuff all over you. Yeah. So even when you're trying to blow this out with a blower, it's going to blow stuff all over you. Cedar, you're going to get a face full of cedar. This camera, kind of janky, and it's hard to get to tighten up, you said, Austin?
I'm pretty sure it's impossible unless you take all of the radiator and everything off of there. We've looked, you can't even fit a snubby down inside there to tighten that up. It's too, there's not enough room there. From the back side, there's no access to it. So I believe the only way to tighten that is you take the whole radiator out.
Yeah, I mean, it works pretty good. Yeah. The John Deere don't even work. You know, it's got to go to the dealer to have the camera fixed.
Yeah, which it works. I will say that the camera quality on the John Deere is better in my opinion. It shoots more where you're going. As far as this and the ASV have the same camera. This one is more of a broad view, so it's a little bit more zoomed out, but it still works. I mean, you got to be able to see where you're going when you're backing up, especially when you're doing any kind of mulching, because there's trees all around you. And this provides sufficient video. You really can stop yourself from running into anything. I just think the video quality on the John Deere is a little bit better. Yeah,
something I noticed on this and the ASV, and it's something little, but I kind of like it. They mark these bolts. You see how they got a little marker on them? Like this one got a purple marker. The ASV's got some other, but I can just look at that and tell, hey, that's loosening. You know, that's a little bitty thing, but they're marked all over the machine. Any bolt just about has a marker on it. So you lift this up and you close it. Remember, don't let these doors swing open. Make sure they're closed. They're kind of flimsy. This, you got another latch here, let it down. And then you got to pull that and set it back. So the AC, now these ACs on the ASV and the Yanmar, they work great. They will freeze you out of them when they're working. But this up here is a condenser and it gets clogged up. The ASV's got a shield over it. We'll show you that in the next video. But if you're running in dirty, dusty areas, cedar, stuff like that, wash them out every couple of days. They work great, yeah. You know. But if you run it a week or two, you don't clean it, you're going to be, after lunch, you're going to get back in the machine, you hadn't had a good meal, and all of a sudden, it's probably 120 degrees in there. Yeah. You know, so either you go home or you work through it. We work through it. We're not leaving because the AC don't work. I know some people think we're crazy, but we got a job to do, and we're going to get that job done. So now we keep them clean, so we don't run into that.
Yeah, especially with the aspect of the heat and not having those windows tinted. We really want to make sure we keep those clean because unless you're under the canopy of the woods all day long, you get out in that sun, it's going to immediately start cooking you.
Right.
So we got to make sure we keep those
clean. Blow them
clean.
out, spray them out with water. Austin, get up there and show them where that other filter. This is another design we don't like. ASV and Yanmar both have this.
So right in here, there is a cabin air filter for the AC, and there's a little condenser behind it. Now these bolts right here, you hand turn them, but they seem to be about 3 inches long, and you've got to turn on them forever in order to get the plate off just to get to the filter.
And it's a bad spot.
And it's way tucked down in here, and if there was something to block that off so that stuff couldn't get in here, it'd be good. But the problem is this just catches and fills with trash and debris, water, sticks, and you can't get any airflow from it whenever that's completely covered.
It's got a filter in there, so you take that off, you clean the filter off, and then that condenser that's in there gets caked up, especially if you're doing cedar with cedar. So you got to blow that out or vacuum it with a shop vac or wipe it with a rag or something. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. We don't like that, but you know, you got your goods and bads. It's just like Ford and Dodge, Chevrolet don't count. We don't consider that to be a real truck. I know we're gonna get a lot of haters on that, but we're Ford and Dodge guys here, so y'all have to listen to it. I think that's all on the back of the machine. You see it's got this bumper back here. It doesn't have all the forestry stuff. This is not a forestry setup machine, but we have not had any problems.
No, I will say
I have personally backed this into a tree.
So have I.
He has backed it into a tree.
I've backed it into something right here where it just bumped off the tree, and there's no dents on this door. And this is a pretty flimsy door, so if it hit a tree, it would crush it.
Yeah.
So
it
this
is metal,
does the
though.
job.
That is a metal door.
It is metal, but this definitely does a job. It looks like it wouldn't do anything, but it sticks out just enough to protect everything.
I think the fact that it's sloped too helps. You know, the John Deere's got that big old bumper on, and the weights that we done knocked the weights off. We done messed up the hood. Yeah. So, you know, of course, when you have something that's not forced, you're going to probably be a little bit more careful with it.
I will say that the ground clearance on this is extremely nice when you go to do maintenance or cleaning of any sort. Taking those plates off of here is a lot easier. You can get a jack under there, whereas when you do it with the John Deere, you got to basically drive up on blocks in order to get yourself enough room to get those plates off. This, you don't have to do that. You can get underneath there with a creeper, drill, impact, whatever you're using, and get all those bolts out to get them plates off. So that is extremely nice.
Come around to the other side of the machine. I think we got everything there. One of the things that has been a pain for us is this hydraulic window. So it says it's got plenty of hydraulic fluid in it. It'll look like that, and the next thing you know, there's no hydraulic fluid in it. We add it, it's too much hydraulic fluid. So it's been a battle with that. I don't know why, but the gauge there's something goofy going on with it.
And if you put too much in it, you don't know if it's completely empty or if it's too full.
Yep.
So that is an issue. I would like to see maybe an electronic sensor of some kind and put it on the screen itself so that you could check the hydraulic fluid through the screen itself.
Right.
All of your fuses and relays, a lot of them are in here. Take this plate off, and there's some covers in there.
Didn't we have a fuse blow for something? Oh, it was that front piece.
Yeah, the front piece, with it getting torn off, it actually blew the fuse.
So we fixed it, and then it still didn't work, and come to find out the fuse for it was in here. Yeah. So that's the wire that we told you to roll up and put in the back that goes all the way down here to the front plate. There is a fuse behind there that controls that.
If you're looking how to adjust the tracks, it's pretty similar on the ASV, John Deere, and the Yanmar. They're all generally in the same spot. The ASV is actually a hand adjustment. When you go to do that video, you'll be able to see that. But on the Yanmar and the John Deere, it's grease fitting. So you use grease fitting in order to adjust the track.
We'll move here to the front. This door is kind of flimsy. It's a bulletproof door. I don't know if it's aftermarket something or if it's something that the dealer had put on, but it is kind of flimsy. Another thing is these things get water in them. The ASV and the Yanmar, the floorboard will fill up with water. Now the Yanmar's got a drain plug. You can pull that plug and it'll drain the water out. The ASV doesn't. It'll sit there and hold that much water. I don't know where it's coming from. So I don't know if it's coming from the air conditioning or what, or when it rains, because we had a lot of rain, so we're not sure.
One thing I do like about the Yanmar is all of your grease fittings are on the side. So on the side. Everything is on the side.
Machine like you do with the
John Deere. They have them up here, down here, on the back, up on the top. So if you don't know what you're looking for, you're gonna miss a grease fitting. The Yanmar here, the ASV is the same way. It's all on the side. So it's extremely easy to know and see where you need to be using the grease.
Also the controls, they're adjustable. I'm a lot bigger than he is. When he has the machine set, the lap bar comes down, it's pushing on my gut. But they adjust pretty easily. You just turn these little knobs, 2 on each side, and you push those things forward. So that includes like the armrest, the lap bar, the joysticks, everything can adjust from that.
All right, now we are in the Yanmar TL100VS skid steer. So you can see a nice big screen there. We got some buttons, AC controls. This one does have a key. So you have to turn the key on, and then you got your code, you got your radio right here. AC controls, your high flow, low flow buttons, your throttle control there. And then once you've got your code inputted, you can start it with the key. So you've got this nice big screen that you can look at, and this right here gives your backup camera. If you click there, you can actually go to the job timer, and it has specific hours and minutes. So if you want to restart it, you just do that, and you have to hit the play button in order to get it to start the timer. But it will start running the timer. You can go back to home. You have your backup camera. Now if you want to go full screen here, you can go full screen. Once you start going backwards, you'll be able to, it'll put the reverse camera all the way on the full screen. Personally, we like this because it gives you all your information on your gauges plus the backup camera there. Radio works pretty good. AC controls, AC works good. You've got a couple vents there. The skylight here, it's a lot easier to see out than the John Deere. The controls, now, what is nice about them is if you look down here, there's actually different ways to adjust the controls themselves. So for me, I'm pretty short, I'm still able to do this, but when my dad, who's almost a foot taller than I am, he can move everything back and adjust it to where he's comfortable. I will say that these aren't the most comfortable as far as ergonomically in your hands compared to the John Deere, but they're just fine. They work just great. You got your door here. If you don't close it hard enough, it will latch, but it won't seal. So you got to make sure you pull it nice and hard. You got your windshield washer reservoir here. We have had this wiper blade actually break off on us. You got your mirror, which really doesn't do you a whole lot of good, to be honest with you. If your camera goes out, you're really better off looking behind you instead of looking in that mirror. The lap bar here is just a single lap bar. It goes up to the side, back down. ASV has the same thing. You got your cup holder, and you've got a phone holder. You can see down here, there's hardly any leg room down here. And I'm pretty short, I'm only 5'6", and I can touch the front. So you can imagine my dad being 6'4". It's a pretty tight squeeze for him, but he's still pretty comfortable. The seat, it's a nice leather seat. It's very comfortable, it's nice and cushioned. The problem for me is I have to actually put the seatbelt on to keep myself from sliding forward because there is no foot pedal like that's in the John Deere 330G. There's no foot stop basically or foot rest there that I can push up against. So I actually do start to slide forward when I go forward and go backwards. But other than that, everything works like it's supposed to. You can tell the buttons they're okay. They don't look like as good of a build quality as a John Deere, but they're just buttons that do what they're supposed to do. You got all your different controls here, pretty much standard on your skid steers. You can actually go to this menu though, back to the screen here, and there's a bunch of different setups you can do. You can put it in creep mode, you can enable it, and you have to put it in park in order to confirm. But you can set your creep mode there. You can actually go in here to the high flow and adjust what your high flow gallons per minute is going to be. So it goes all the way up to 40, hit that, and you're set. So that's pretty nice to have. And there's a bunch of different things you can go into here. You know, you have ride control, regeneration, auto idle. You can set up different joystick profiles, and you can actually have different profiles on here as far as system setup, user setup. You can have different users. So if you're the owner of the machine, you'll have admin control. But if you want to set, you know, different controls to your workers where they don't have access to everything, you can go in here and do that. So that is quite nice. Windows, a lot better in our opinion. You can tell just the visibility here. I mean, if I raise this arm up, I can raise this arm up just a little bit, and you can see all the way down to the front of that track. I mean, that in itself is just an amazing thing to have there. Just the visibility around the entire machine is great to have, especially when you're in tight places like the woods when you're mulching. But that is the inside of the Yanmar TL100VS.
So to go over the machine, I mean, it's got a few little things, like a bolt fell out here. But rating the machine, I'd give it for mulching. I'd say a 7.
Yeah.
You know,
I would say probably around the same, 7 for the machine itself, and a lot of that comes from the comfort. Obviously, the overheating issue is the same as the John Deere, but I'd rather have a machine that's comfortable.
It's a little bit better. It don't overheat quite as often as the John Deere does.
Yeah.
But as far as the machine's good, you know, if you're using it for dirt or something like that, just regular skid steer stuff, I think it's probably be great. You won't have any issues.
I believe so too.
Yeah, I give it a 7 on mulching, maybe a 6, or you know, the Loftness of the 3, the least amount of power as far as getting through something, but it does back drag better. Its recovery time is way better.
Yeah, it's got a faster recovery than the MH60D.
Yeah, it seems like forever for the MH60D, and you know, you just got the little roll thumb thing on the John Deere that has the build up, and then you lock it in. Whereas these, you just push the high flow button, and it pops up 3 little lights, and then it's full going. But I think that's it on this one, Austin. What do you think? Got anything to add?
No. Like we said, with all the hoses and everything, they're pretty much designed similar between the 3 machines. So you got to be careful with them if you're going to be mulching. Any low-hanging hoses you see, I think all 3 machines have those. So you got to be careful. As far as mulching goes, we may not rate them high on mulching, but anything on the dirt work, I would definitely take this machine over maybe the John Deere.
And if you look at the specs, I think the John Deere's like 7 point something on speed wise. This one's like 8, and the ASV's like 10.
Yeah. So the John Deere and the Yanmar are very comparable in their spec sheet, but in my opinion, mulching aside, I think you're going to get your best bang for your buck out of the Yanmar. Yes. In my opinion, by a long shot.
Even if they were the same price, I'd buy the Yanmar before I would the John Deere.
Yeah.
But you know, huge price difference. I don't know. It's $30,000 probably. So that would be a big factor if it's going to get the work done. If we had the choice to buy again, we wouldn't buy a Yanmar or John Deere for mulching all the time. If you're gonna mulch every once in a while, you're looking for something to do your personal property, yeah, that's great. But for mulching 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, ASV is the only way to go, in my opinion. The next thing we're going to show you, we're not going to do a whole lot on the trucks. We got a Ford 550 24 model Ram 3500, both 4-wheel drive. One's a Lariat. What's yours? Tradesman. Yep. But we build our own beds because we want it to fit our purpose. We don't want to buy something that, you know, we've had enough trucks and built beds in the past. On Austin's bed, this is the first one he built by himself. So it's not finished, but we'll show you and tell you why.
As far as maintenance goes, I actually haven't done the actual maintenance itself on it because we haven't gotten to that point yet. Maintenance schedule is generally the same as the John Deere. From what I can see, it's going to be pretty much same as the John Deere. I think it's going to be a little bit harder to get to the filters. They're a little bit further down inside there. But other than that, it looks generally about the same process as the John Deere is. So again, maintenance, if you're wanting to maintain some machines yourself, if you've got a little mechanical side to you, I think you can do it, no problems. Go get the filters from your nearest dealer. As long as you got the tools, it's a pretty simple job. It may take you a day to do it most. One thing is, lifting the cab on this requires an impact and a wrench. The John Deere, much easier. It takes an 18mm socket on each side of the cab and it lifts up. And
the cab's a lot cleaner on the Yanmar. Yeah. We had the top window wasn't sealed right. The dealer resealed that. So I think some dirt was coming in there, and maybe through this door's kind of flimsy, but it still is a lot cleaner, a lot less dirt than the John Deere on the inside of the machine.
Yeah, and if you lift up those cabs, you'll see that there's a whole lot less stuff that gets up underneath the cab of the Yanmar. The John Deere, the first time we had cleaned it, it was probably 3 inches of dirt, mud, sticks up inside where all the hydraulic pumps and everything is. So that
it had like
is a concern for me.
400 hours maybe?
Yeah, it's a concern because if you're running that machine, even dirt and mud, you get that stuff inside there and it's not going to allow the machine to cool off properly, any of the hydraulics to cool off properly, because it's just getting completely surrounded by mud. Yeah. So it becomes a fire hazard. Machines can easily be engulfed in flames, whereas this here, you don't have that. You don't have that issue. So
if you have any questions, comments, whatever, something you want to know, even something we said wrong, you want to tell us, go ahead. We're not looking for smart aleck remarks. We're doing this to benefit somebody else, to help somebody else spend their money wisely. We're not masters of anything. We have a business, we do well. We ain't ever had a customer complain, so we're doing something right. But this is to help others, whether it's homeowners just wanting to get some information about mulching, or if it's somebody who's wanting to get into the business, or somebody who's in the business and is looking for a new machine. So this is to benefit somebody, and not to hurt anybody. If we said something wrong, hey, let us know. If there's a question and we can answer it, we'll answer it for you. Alrighty.
And like if you've seen our other review videos, say the same thing again. We spent the money here already, so we want to give you that review from our personal side. It's our personal view. We aren't mechanics. We aren't certified by John Deere or Yanmar or ASV. We have worked on these things, and it's our own personal experience with the machines and how we run these things every single day.
And we're new to this, so we're not getting paid by anybody. Nobody's giving us anything.
It would be nice.
We don't get no perks out of this deal. One other thing, we'll probably tell you in every video because we think they're cool. We bought the Rapid radios. Those things work great. We haven't been to a job yet that they didn't work on, so we can talk to Dalton when he's at the office. If we're on a big property and Austin's on one side, I'm on the other, they work. Yeah, so we bought Walmart walkie-talkies. They wouldn't charge. The chargers would break. They wouldn't work right. These have done us very well.
I would recommend them especially if you're gonna be doing this by yourself. Maybe get you one and your spouse one, because if something happens and you don't have cell phone service, because there's many jobs that we go to and we have no reception at all. Yeah. If something happens to us out in the field and we can't get in contact with somebody, that would be a big problem. So these
anybody who knows you run these machines, you can turn one over. We've never turned one over, but it is possible.
Yeah.
So, and then even if there are two people you're working on a job, they work great for that. You want communication.
But comment, let us know if you have any feedback, any questions, concerns, anything like that. We'd love to hear from you. If we don't know the answer, we'll try to figure it out for you. If there's anything that we missed, let us know.